Inflation, gas prices, cost of materials going up, high demand, everything I think is working against Teslas, especially if you're in the market for one and you are hoping to buy a reasonably priced one, because these are some of the largest price hikes I think I've ever seen Tesla apply to their entire lineup, short of when they refreshed the Model S, it was like 80,000 instead of 70,000, but every single Tesla that is being sold got a fairly major price hike last night, so I'll be diving into all of the new prices that you have to prepare for and speculating more on what the main drive behind these price hikes are. So first of all, let's start with the cheapest Tesla, because that's the one I reserved not too long ago, and of course that's probably the entry point for a lot of you, just like, I want a Tesla of some kind, don't really care about all the bells and whistles. Well, the cheapest option used to be $45,000, now it's $47,000, and as far as we're aware, that comes with no increase in range or efficiency or any new specs or components or anything. This is just because of high demand and inflation. The Model 3 long range went up a bizarre $2,500, so it used to start at $52,000, now it starts at $54,500, so pretty dang close to $55,000 now, which is much higher than it used to be. And the performance Model 3 saw a $3,000 price increase. It used to be $59,000, now starting at $62,000. Already for the performance you get with that vehicle, it was a pretty dang good deal, but maybe too many people were finding it a too good to be true deal. So the cheapest Tesla is now substantially more expensive than it used to be. Thankfully, if you did put in your order beforehand, Tesla will honor that old pricing, so Evil Drew is a little bit happy today because he feels like he got a bargain, and it's funny how quickly that works because, the rear-wheel drive Model 3 was like the most expensive it had ever been back when I ordered, so it was kind of like, yeah, okay, I guess we're getting an okay deal. Now that the prices have gone up, I'm like, whew, okay, very glad I ordered when I did. I haven't even taken delivery yet, and this thing is appreciating in value. But let's talk about the Model Y. That's the most popular option, that's what most people are interested in, and we're still waiting for Tesla to update the configurator with the new Giga Texas model, or maybe a lithium iron phosphate model, we don't know. They haven't introduced any new trims, but long range and performance saw $3,000 price increases. This is a severe punch to the gut when you consider the Model Y was already more expensive than it had ever been in existence. Model Y Mike from the Talos of EV podcast, when he took delivery of his long-range Model Y, that was starting for the dual motor trim at $53,000. Now it's starting at $62,000 for the cheapest possible Model Y, and the performance Model Y is now $68,000. So really high price increases. In the past I've reported on all of these before. Occasionally we would see $1,000 price increases, sometimes $2,000. I think this is the first time I've ever seen the Model Y price jump $3,000 within a single move. This basically happened overnight. Estimated delivery windows, however, have not changed, which means that the long-range option is not completely sold out for the remainder of this year, but if you add a different color or different tires or a tow hitch or something, that bumps you up to September. But yeah, that's now easily going to be a $65,000, $70,000 purchase after taxes and registration, which is not an easy pill to swallow. And keep in mind, that now means because the Model 3 rear-wheel drive got a $2,000 price increase and the Model Y got a $3,000, there is $16,000 between the cheapest Model 3 and cheapest Model Y. And once again, we basically have no concrete proof that reserving a Model Y today guarantees you a spot in line for Giga Texas. So once again, I'm even more grateful that we did not wait, and I'm even more confident that reserving the Model 3 rear-wheel drive was the right call to make, because if we decided to keep waiting and not go with the Model 3, we now would have had to pay probably $2,000 more for the 3 or $3,000 more for the Model Y, which now is well above $60,000 starting, which is just really hard to process. And if you thought those price hikes were bad, we haven't even talked about the Model S and X yet, which I believe are facing some of the highest price increases in their history. This is unparalleled that I can remember. But the Model S, not too long ago, just last year when they refreshed it, they for a while were selling it at $80,000 and then applied a $5,000 price increase because demand was off the charts, and then it became $85,000, then $90,000, then $95,000. Today, now, the long-range Model S, the cheapest Model S you can buy, starts at $100,000, which is, oh my god. I know they're the luxury models, but dang, it's kind of hard to imagine that Tesla has half of their lineup in the six-figure realm now. Model S Plaid saw a $6,000 price increase instead of $5,000 like the long range did, which means if you want the fastest Tesla on the website, it's now $136,000, but considering there's no other vehicle on the market that can beat the 0 to 60 times, except maybe the Rimac Nevera, but that's barely on the market in reality, so I still think that's a tremendous value for what you're getting. It's not that these are overpriced, but dang, just to see a vehicle go from, you know, one price to another overnight like this is kind of a lot. And unfortunately, the biggest price hikes, the largest amount of damage was applied to the Model X, which not only did it get a $5,000 increase or a $6,000 increase, the long-range Model X, okay, not the performance model, the cheapest Model X you can buy, went up $10,000 last night. And the Model X Plaid, even worse. A couple of days ago, you could get it for a little over $126,000. Now the Model X Plaid starts at $139,000, which is substantially more than it was last year. But even just comparing the last couple days, that's a $12,500 price increase. Just in one motion. This is not an incremental update. They just went from, oh yeah, we might as well just charge an extra $12,500 while we're at it. So once again, Elon has been tweeting a lot about inflation recently and how it's impacting a lot of their suppliers. Lithium has gone up a ton in pricing, as has nickel, as has, of course, the price of gas, which you don't think would necessarily impact electric vehicles until you consider all of the trucks and all of the transportation that brings parts and supplies to these factories, whether it's in China, whether it's in Fremont, whether it's in Texas or Germany. All of these factories are relying on diesel semi-trucks, so the cost of shipping parts or shipping vehicles or delivering vehicles have all gone way up with the price of gas. So it doesn't even matter that Tesla's building vehicles that don't use gas. The supply chains are hit by this. And keep in mind that most of the vehicles you can order on the website today are not available for delivery for sometimes 6 to 8 months out. And because the estimated delivery is so far away and Tesla is locking in your price whenever you put a reservation down, they have to kind of account for inflation. They're kind of predicting that the dollar is going to be worth less by the time you take delivery. So I think that because the wait times and the backlog has grown so much, they're basically anticipating the cost of infrastructure, the cost of logistics is going up over time, and they're kind of prepping themselves for that. So as frustrating as it is for the consumer, and it's definitely a huge bummer, I know exactly how you feel if you were saving up for a Tesla and you hadn't reserved one yet, and you were just kind of working towards being able to afford your dream model. This is a huge punch to the face. It pained me so much in the past having to report on, like, my favorite vehicle of all time getting exponentially more and more expensive, especially when there were price hikes this drastic. You know, it was one thing to see it go up $1,000. Now it's another to see it go up $2,000 or $3,000 overnight. But from a business perspective, I have to acknowledge Tesla is probably doing the right thing. The bad way to go about price hikes is to do what Rivian did and not really pay attention to inflation, cost of materials, and cost of manufacturing and logistics, and then all of a sudden realize, oh crap, we're gonna run out of money very quickly, so let's just start applying price hikes to everybody, even those who put in their reservation. So far, so good. Tesla is locking in your price when you put down a deposit, at least for the Model S, 3, X, and Y. They're not doing it with the Cybertruck, so don't expect your Cybertruck prices to be anywhere near accurate at this point. Because the Model Y is now starting at $63,000 and the performance model is $68,000, I'm gonna have to kind of re-predict my Cybertruck pricing. I don't think the dual motor is gonna be 65 grand anymore. At least as long as inflation is like this and the cost of materials continues to rise, I think $95,000 for the quad motor Cybertruck is more accurate now, and probably $70,000 to $75,000 for the dual motor is a lot more likely with the lineup currently being priced as it is. I still think it's a tremendous value. I still think it's a great deal, but I appreciate that Tesla, at least when you put in your non-refundable $250 order fee, they honor the price that you looked at on the webpage and said, yes, I can afford that, because what Rivian did is not the way to go about it, and I'm glad to see Rivian went back on that because they realized how unreasonable they were being. But this is the cost of honoring those original prices, because Tesla knows even if someone's taking delivery of a vehicle in December, and, you know, that's 9 months away from now, they have to plan for what the US dollar is going to be worth by then. And if anything, from a business perspective, this does definitely encourage people to not back out on their orders. You know, there's probably probably some people that put in their deposit and they're now thinking, well, maybe if the Giga Texas model comes out, I might cancel and considering getting this, or maybe it's not really going to be worth the money because I don't know, it's kind of a lot to spend on vehicles, and vehicles depreciate, right? Well, you might want to throw out the rule book on vehicles at this point, because we're now seeing people like myself who haven't even taken delivery of a Tesla yet, now having an appreciating asset. By the time I take delivery, it could be another $5,000 or $6,000 more than what I ended up paying for it. So don't get me wrong, I've followed that logic in the past where like, yeah, vehicles depreciate and usually they lose like half their value the second you drive them off the lot. But because of rising gas prices and because EVs being so high in demand and so short in supply, honestly, I think it's going to make a ton of people realize I should really go through with my order. Even if I have to take out a loan, even if it's going to be kind of a stretch financially, I'm probably going to have a vehicle that I could sell for much more than I paid within the near-term future. That sounds very backwards, and I used to not believe, you know, the Twitter accounts all claiming that Tesla's appreciated over time either, but at least in the short term, that's sounding like more and more of a reality. This is not financial advice. I'm not an advisor. Do your own research, of course, but this is frankly a situation we've run into where demand is off the charts, and this is basically all Tesla can do short of just turning off orders entirely and saying like, hey, stop buying the freaking cars. We can't catch up with this kind of demand, and with the rising costs of supply chains, this is probably going to get even worse. So once again, my condolences to all of those who had not ordered yet, and for the people who have locked in your previous pricing, congratulations. I hope you can go through with the purchases. Thank you to everyone on Patreon supporting the channel, as just watching these videos helps a ton. Take care all, and have a great day as best as you can.